So My Hero Academia is a problem. It's all to do with one character. Now I know what you're gonna say, but Mr. Lunchtime, My Hero Academia is your thing. Your entire channel is dedicated to breaking down, reviewing, and praising the series in all of its glory. Except for the chapters I didn't review. And that's true, I do love this series with all of my heart. Hell, I have a tattoo of this shit. From the entertaining story and character arcs, to the blood-pumping and iconic music, to the absolutely amazing and gorgeous artwork and animation, all the way to the characters and their somehow realistic relationships with each other, themselves, and the world, to me, everything about this story is just beautiful. It's not perfect, but damn does it hit me in just the right way that when I come out from watching an episode or reading a chapter, I just feel good. Like that's that good shit. Straight serotonin in the veins. Hook me up. But it's because of my passion and love for this series that I can recognize its flaws. Such as the entire story taking place over 1 year of school, the first year at that, how some super amazing, dynamic, and interesting characters are introduced in one arc and then just fade out into obscurity in the next. How a lot of the time when a character is on the verge of losing or unaliving, they simply just go beyond and suddenly they're not losing or unaliving anymore. And also how we were robbed of a shopping episode at the end of season 2 thanks to In Desperate Need of Face Cream. Never forget. But none of these flaws really compare to the biggest problem this series has. A problem that not only redefined and altered the entire series as a whole, but changed it in such a way that it could never be the same again. A problem many people have with the series, but may have never realized it. And that problem is our protagonist, Izuku Midoriya. Whoa, now hold on, I can already hear the angry typing in the comments.
Don't you dare for a green-haired cinnamon roll, we will fuck you up.
But before you hit enter, hit that subscribe button, and also just hear me out. The problem is not Izuku Midoriya as a character, but more his progression as one. Midoriya's character arc from the shy, terrified, outcast kid with a passion for heroes and the heart of one, all the way to the courageous, inspiring, new symbol of peace and the embodiment of a true hero is heartwarming. I mean, it's a simple underdog story that really emphasizes the theme of the series. We are not all born equal, but anyone can become a hero. It's simple, wholesome, and it works. What doesn't work is how Midoriya goes along this journey. Or more specifically, how his powers do. You see, at the start of the series, Midoriya is a quirkless kid with the heart of a true hero. And so he is given the ultimate power to become the greatest hero who ever lived. That's the story. Not him as the greatest hero, but him becoming the greatest hero. And so, the guts and essence of My Hero is Midoriya's journey. And, at the start of the series, his quirk was the perfect reflection of this. When Midoriya first uses One For All, he heroically leaps into the air and uses the signature move of his childhood idol, Detroit Smash, to batter the horrifying and terrible robot about to trample the beautiful lady in front of him, selflessly risking his own dream for the greater good. It's heroic, it's beautiful, it's fucking poetry. However, immediately after using this attack, he quickly realizes his body is shattered and he's about to be unalived. This moment emphasizes two clear distinctions about Midoriya's character. One, he has the heart of a true hero, once again willingly risking his life for the greater good, and two, he has no control over his power and suffers because of this. This narratively explains to us, the audience, that the only thing preventing Midoriya from completing his journey and ultimately becoming the greatest hero who ever lived is his inability to control his power. At the start of the series, the journey presented to Midoriya is not one of will, belief, or mind. It's a story of him trying to gain control of his power. A boy who's trying to become a hero after receiving the ultimate power, but is unable to control it. And this is the story of My Hero Academia until just after the sports festival, where the problem with Midoriya begins. All the way up to, and especially during the sports festival, there was this consistent plot point of Midoriya having to find fun, unique, and intelligent ways of either using his quirk or avoiding the use of it to overcome the obstacles in front of him. There was this consistent sense of danger and intrigue with Midoriya and his power. When faced with a challenge, the question wasn't, is Midoriya strong enough to beat this, but rather, how the hell is Midoriya going to beat this? And that's where the heart and essence of this story resides. When Midoriya was trying to pass Aizawa's test to not get expelled, the issue and intrigue wasn't in the fact that Midoriya wasn't powerful, but it was in the fact of how he was going to use his great power with minimal repercussions. When Midoriya faced off against Bako for the first time, the tension didn't come from if Midoriya could win with his power, because I mean, he could have fucking Detroit smashed that kid into the fucking moon. The tension came from if he could win without it, because he didn't want to hurt his friend. And I mean, I say friend here in quotation marks because at this point of the story, I'm pretty sure Bako was trying to kill Midoriya with an explosion. Yeah, Ernie My Hero is really wild with his antagonists. But the point remains. At this part of the story, the fun wasn't in Midoriya's strength, but his lack of. I mean, just look at the USJ attack. A beloved arc that introduced all of these big bads and a villain said to have a power to rival that of All Might, the strongest pro-hero. A setup which I have to admit led to one of the most iconic moments in the entire series. I mean, and an arc in which Midoriya barely used his power. And when he did, it felt a lot more tense than moments further down the line, because every use came with a clear risk. If he punched, he would lose the use of an arm. If he jumped, he would lose the use of a leg. If he headbutted, he'd probably be dead. However, if you really take a step back and look at the power scaling of this moment based purely on strength, it goes 3 Nomu, 2 All Might, 1 Midoriya. You could argue that Shigaraki is up there too, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Even at this point in the story, Midoriya has the greatest ability in the world. He has the strongest power. He is the strongest. Fucking move aside, Satoru Gojo, because now I'd win. Midoriya is here. Nah, that kid would get his fucking shit rocked. Now, at this point, you're probably saying, yes, okay, Mr. Lunchtime, we get it. Midoriya was always the strongest. Why does this matter, and what does that have to do with anything after the sports festival, or how does it even cause a problem? Well, it's because after the sports festival, Midoriya gets control of One for All. That is it. That is the single biggest problem with this series. The moment Midoriya gains control of even just a continuous 5% of One for All in his body, the dynamic of the entire series changes going forward. The story goes from a boy trying to control the ultimate godlike power to when is he going to go from 5% to 100%. That is all. Now, I hear you again. Oh, but that's just natural story progression. If Midoriya didn't get control over One for All, it just wouldn't make sense and it would just be the same old stuff over and over again. And I absolutely agree and disagree with that statement. Yes, Midoriya should progress with his power. Yes, he should gain more control of One for All. And yes, by the end of the series, he should have the same level of control, if not more control of it, than All Might did. I 100% agree. Narratively, it makes sense. But what I disagree with is how and when that advancement happened. As I said, before Midoriya could control One for All, the fights were more interesting and dynamic because they involved more than just brute strength and power. They involved tactical thinking, unorthodox strategies, and new obstacles that kept us intrigued to see how our hero would overcome them. Each fight and conflict introduced a unique challenge for Midoriya that not only allowed him to show off his own intellect, breaking down and analyzing his opponent and situation before coming up with creative and entertaining solutions for each challenge faced, but also emphasized the point of the series, that even without a quirk, Midoriya was a hero. An emphasis that is somewhat lost when he gains control. In the early stages of Midoriya's time in UA, Midoriya comes up with solutions without the use of his quirk. In the first training arc, he initially fights Bakugo one-on-one without his quirk. During the USJ attack, he works to escape with Froppy and Mineta based on their abilities, only using his when he desperately needs to. And true, he did have to use his power in these situations, but he was learning that these situations weren't solved entirely by power. He was learning that he didn't need a quirk to be a hero. A point that is rarely shown after the sports festival, because in literally every single situation, he uses his power. And when things get difficult, instead of thinking up a new, unique solution or even thinking outside of the box, he simply just uses more power. Increasing percentages, hitting harder, moving faster, going from 10% to 20% to 40% to 120%. It's cool, it's crazy, it's intense, it's hype. It just doesn't hit the same. It's missing that essence, that charm, that unique drive that separates this series from other manga and stories in the same genre. Power-ups are sick, but once the story changes from Midoriya trying to become a hero with the uncontrollable power to Midoriya simply just trying to become stronger, there is something missing. And I think Horikoshi realized this too, which, weirdly enough, is why he gave Midoriya more quirks. Because what does the boy with the canonically most powerful ability in the universe need? 6 more powers! If I was anyone else in this universe, I would be pissed. I would be calling that bullshit. You're telling me there's people born in this universe that are quirkless, and this kid's got like fucking 6 of them? No, okay? I'm joining the anti-quirk guys if that's the case. Fuck this guy. But in all seriousness, narratively and in-universe reasons aside, Midoriya not only having the strongest ability in the universe, but also 6 super enhanced powers doesn't really make sense. Like, it was already clarified how far ahead All Might was with this power, and that Midoriya would be even more powerful than him. So why introduce more abilities? You know Midoriya is going to be stronger than everyone else, and you know at the end he's going to be the one taking down the big bad. So why add more? Well, because Horikoshi was trying to go back to the original journey of a boy trying to control his power. When Midoriya first unlocks Black Whip, the first of his 6 new abilities, it is introduced in the exact same light as One for All, an insanely powerful and useful quirk that Midoriya can't control. And from this point forward, Midoriya's training goes from him trying to gain 100% control of One for All to trying to control his new powers. We are once again brought back to the initial premise of a boy trying to control the ultimate power. Woo! We are so back! Now, the only reason why I can see Horikoshi making the decision to add these additional quirks, other than realizing how hard it is to show off how powerful your character's getting when the only real indicator is them verbally saying, I'm this much percentage stronger, is because he realized that the true essence of the story is not in the character's strength, but in their weakness. It's Midoriya's ability to overcome his lack of control and perfection with wit and comprehension that both humanizes him and also makes his story so goddamn enjoyable to follow. And to give Horikoshi credit, in his arbitrary way of trying to solve the most powerful being in the versus problem of being too in control and powerful by giving him 6 additional powers, it somewhat works. Instead of Midoriya using 100% of One for All to solve all his problems, he instead uses these quirks and combines them in fun, unique, and crazy ways to do it. I mean, by the end of the series, Midoriya doesn't even have control over 100% of One for All. He instead combines these quirks with what percentage he does have control of and uses that to mimic 100% and even go beyond it. Yeah, so technically the Midoriya we see in the final bout hasn't even reached his full potential. Sweet merciful Bakugo, he is powerful. However, in saying all of this, despite Horikoshi's best efforts to reclaim that lost journey, it just doesn't hit the same notes as it did before. It's just not the same as it was. What the fuck fuck out of here, Harry Styles. Because, while yes, it solves the story change and brings us back to the original essence and journey of this story, it also brings with it its own issues, such as Midoriya now being way more overpowered than he already was when he does master all these quirks. The fact that due to pacing we have to believe that Midoriya is going to learn and perfect 6 entirely new quirks before he's even learned how to perfect one for all in an even shorter time frame. And also the fact that this once again steps further away from the theme of the series, that you don't need a quirk to be a hero. This fucker's got like 7 of them. He's got quirks to spare. It just doesn't capture the same simplistic, unproblematic essence the story initially had of the quirkless boy and the uncontrollable greatest power. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a valiant effort on Horikoshi's part, but if he really wanted to introduce new quirks to add that sense of versatility and uncontrollability for Midoriya, in my opinion, he should have added them way earlier. In fact, the perfect time he should have added them was the exact moment before he made the mistake of giving Midoriya control over One for All. During the sports festival. If during the final fights of the sports festival, when Midoriya was hypnotized by Shinzo and he saw all of the previous users of One for All, he used one of their quirks to escape instead of base One for All, this would have solved all of these issues. Because then instead of Midoriya gaining control of 5% of One for All and having this issue of his only sign of improvement being his verbal cue of him saying he's using a higher percentage or going beyond, you could have him start to access the quirks of all of the previous users. With him initially being unable to use these powers just like One for All, and instead slowly gaining control of them over time, visually showing us how much he's improving with these quirks, and thusly One for All, while also keeping this sense of uncontrollability and need for diversity and creativity, as he still wouldn't be able to control his strength. It would also emphasize and explain why Midoriya doesn't have 100% control of One for All by the end of the series, because he doesn't need to, as he has now perfected the combinations and use of these quirks throughout the series rather than in the last act. And on top of all of this, it would swing home the message that it wasn't All Might's power that made Midoriya a hero, but rather his bravery, ingenuity, and selflessness and willingness to stand up and fight and save people regardless of if he had strength or not. It would show that it didn't matter what power he had or if he had power at all. He was always a hero. My god, it's fucking beautiful! Why isn't it a thing? Okay, I may need to calm down a bit. I'm very passionate about this series. I mean, I genuinely do love it. It has been a part of my life for literal years now, and I've talked and praised it for 5 years on YouTube. Holy fuck, it's been 5 years! But the ultimate point I wanted to make in this video is that Horikoshi made a decision with Midoriya's story that fundamentally changed the series as a whole. It was a simple idea, but it changed everything. And whether you think that change is for the worse, better, or ultimately inconsequential is entirely up to you. Personally, I love this series, flaws included. When I see Midoriya push beyond his limits, reach new heights, perform insane feats, and utterly curb stomp his opponent as Yusei Run or Jet Set Run plays in the background, I can't help myself from just getting hyped up. It is amazing. It is fucking awesome, like holy shit, that is my crack injected into my veins. But when I see a quirkless Midoriya rushing in during the sports festival to beat not only Bakugo, not only Todoroki, not only Ida, but every single other first year at UA, even ones who have quirks and support items in a race that is broadcast to the entire world, and his own mother, who initially told him he couldn't be a hero because he was quirkless, ultimately proving everybody wrong. Pure cinema.